If you're on Facebook, YouTube, if you're on instant social media of any sort, I don't care what it is. Richard, what's good, baby? Good evening on a Tuesday. I can have this nice music playing the whole show. All right, you guys. What's going on? It's your boy, Tone Duncan. On a Tuesday, you are in tune with the Truth Seeker Show. This show is about getting the information to you. Now, this isn't always the information that you thought you would hear, but it most certainly is the most pertinent information that you can hear. Because what I talk about isn't entertainment. I don't talk gossip. I don't disrespect women. I don't teach you how to have more than all your peers so you can flaunt it and act like that means something. Sister Shell, what's going on? Big Mix in the house. I don't talk about foolish things. See, because when you got a limited amount of time in the kind of chaos that we got out here, you don't have time to be playing around all these high school games with grown folks. We got serious business going on. Some of us got grandchildren. We need to figure some things out. We need to realize what we are impacted by, and more importantly, get the things you think you know right. I will tell you this, and you believe this. You can believe any religion. You can believe any restorative humanitarianism thoughts, and that's wonderful. But you better know your history. You better know your situation, and you better understand how it equals tomorrow. Because we have no time to be playing with that. Tammy, what's good? Yola in the house. You know, I don't call you Yola, but you know, I'm gonna call you Yola right now just because that's what it says. But hey, I just want to talk to y'all. I want to talk to you guys because yesterday was Columbus Day. And some of us, I mean, I talk to us all the time, right? Mike will tell you, I talk to people all the time about the things that I sometimes assume we all know. I assume we know the story about Columbus, but I have to respect the fact that some of us have been trying to make it and they had time, the opportunity to be messing around with things that don't equal paying the bills, putting food on the table, and getting things going the way they're supposed to. Santi, what's going on, baby? James in the house. Big man in the house. You guys, Columbus Day. Columbus Day had me thinking because a long time ago, I read a book. Please, if you ever hear me bring up a book, strongly consider purchasing that book. I read a book called They Came Before Columbus by a Guyanan, that's Guyana, that's in South America, the tip of South America. So a Guyanese wrote a book teaching us the history of this continent before we were indoctrinated with his story about Columbus. So here's the nutshell, you guys. A lot of us have had a hard time struggling with being an ex-slave in America. It's hard. It's hard to envision that God would put you here as an inferior classed, sometimes even caste citizen, inhabitant, dweller, whatever you want to call yourself. Special shout out over there hanging out on Instagram, Garcia in the house. Okay, you guys. I was talking to some friends because I'm a truth seeker. Man, listen, let me get a like button or something. Who's a truth seeker out here? Hearts in the house. I wanted to know about our history. I wanted to know more about the part they don't tell you. See, what I wanted to talk to you about is that the victors write what we call history in America. Also, you don't get a chance to pen those thoughts. No, the winner will talk about you briefly as it benefits him. So I started wondering, because I know things. Like I said, I read this book from Ivan von Sertima, and I've listened to Diop, and I've listened to Dr. Ben Yosef, and I've listened to all of the great historians of the history of Africa. And all of the amazing things about this continent. And what I realize, you guys, is that the story is never truly told when we look in our history books here in this school, country, place we believe. Some of us even got the audacity, listen here, got the audacity to believe that if it was in the school books, it's the truth. I mean, come on. Dion, what's going on? Okay, listen. I don't know if you guys understand this or not, but you got some of us thinking that we're Indians. You got some of us saying that we are Moors. You got some of us saying that we are Africans who came here before the enslavement process. You have some of us who say, no, we all came on the slave ships brought first by the Muslims to the Caribbeans and then later to the mainlands by the Europeans. I want to tell you on a Columbus Day, we don't even have the Columbus part right. Listen to me, we think Columbus actually came here. Columbus never set foot on this continent. He didn't get any closer than Hispaniola and the Bahamas. Just so you understand, Hispaniola is where Cuba, Hispaniola is where Haiti and the Dominican Republic is now. Okay, so that's as close to this country as he's gotten. I know many of you know that you've been in this country and still haven't gotten as far away as he called himself close. See, but what you don't know is that some of you who think you are Cherokee need to read your Cherokee history. Some of you who think that you're of these amazing Indian groupings need to study your Indian, or let us say more politically correctly, your certain group of indigenous Native Americans. You need to study their history a little better, because I'm going to tell you something, and understand this real quick. Your Indian dream might have some flaws to it. Let's talk about a flaw real quick. Here's the first flaw. One of the largest, most powerful nations of Indians were the Cherokee. Okay? I'm going to tell you something so you understand. Cherokees owned slaves. I'm going to tell you something so you understand. Cherokees were the largest non-European slaveholders in this country. Did you know that? Did you know that for a long time, and this might hurt your feelings, but I'm going to tell you, for a long time, America had come up with a good idea on how to make right with some of the wrongs that were going on. See, what they did, and I'm going to bring this down to you because, see, what you have to understand is there's like 25,000 possible descendants of the freed men and women of Cherokee slavery. And see, they were the ones who were called Cherokees because of the agreement that the Cherokee Indians had with the United States of America. Now I'm going to talk to you about it. See, here, first and foremost, see, the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma in 1866 signed a treaty. And you got to understand this. See, the treaty was with the country that had basically just destroyed their only connection. Tanya, what's going on? Reggie, what's good? You have to hear me on this. See, the Indians thought they had an in, but it wasn't with the North. How many of y'all knew that? See, it wasn't with the North. See, because the Indians liked slavery. I don't know if you know this, but when the whites couldn't find the runaway slaves, where do you think they went? For recovery. See, I know you don't know. Many of you have been told his story. While your story, our story, that's a my story. And we've been clogged and drawn down into unnecessary mystery when it comes to understanding something. Here's what you need to understand. In 1866, America said, okay, I know we got to do something with these Indians. So what we're going to do with these Indians is we're going to move them. Okay? We're going to move them to an area we really don't need. And we'll give them a little bit, just a little trimmings of the money that we rack up from taking over everything that they had. But look, we'll give you some. We'll give you a nice pittance. But here's the deal. According to this treaty, which is a legally binding document, they did something you didn't know happened in America. They did something that we're talking about today, but everybody acts like it's unheard of. I want to talk to you about reparations. Because some of y'all scared to talk about things, but I'm going to talk about it now. See, reparations was given to the freedmen of the Cherokee. Because, see, they knew, being those in the 1800s of white America, that in order for this no longer to be a problem, we've got to create financial stability for this group. And so they did. They said, you stay over there and we'll cut you off. But here's the deal. The deal is you were supposed to give an equal share to every freeman. And they were given the right to be Cherokee nationalists. They were given the right to become Cherokee citizens. But see, what you don't know is that, see, there was an issue that came up a couple months ago. A couple months ago, a U.S. federal income and endowment judge said, listen, over there around 1838, 1839, it was a foregone conclusion that the freedmen were a part of the Cherokee. Matter of fact, in 1866, they spelled it out that they were supposed to get, referring to the blacks who were enslaved by these Indians, they were supposed to get per capita split. So you understand, that means you take every name, every person, and cut them a check. Do you know that the Cherokees did everything they could, everything, to never pay one dime to one black person, because they said America doesn't have the right to tell us who's in our nation. We have sovereign right of the Cherokee nation. We're not identifying with Africans. What's going on Instagram? Much love. Thank you for checking me out. You guys, we're on all kind of media here. This is the Truth Seekers. I'm your boy, Tone Duncan. Look behind me. Your advertisement could be here. Every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, I'm going to talk about something that we need to discuss. But see, when we discuss it, I want you to make sure that you understand that truth has to be rationed out. See, because too much truth will kill you. See, when you get too much truth, you forget which was right, which was wrong, and how do I add this truth to what's really true? Well, this is a real deal. So I want you to understand right now, because it's important for us to have this awareness. If you are truly under the belief that you are of an Indian heritage, you sure better make sure of it, because the government is paying them regularly. Okay, and I'm talking about huge amounts. Okay? One of the things you didn't know is that when a freedman was given his stipend, his regular stipend, he was given 160 acres. 160 acres. Of course, they abused the way they treated the freedmen, the Africans. Of course, they made them split their little properties up all over, whereas the Indians, they had the full 166 in every spot. But this happens, right? We understand that equal wasn't so equal for us after the Reconstruction efforts left the South. Special shout out to my sis. What's going on, Steph? Love you. Always proud of you. Sue, what's going on? Yoga in the house. So you gotta understand, see, they want to tell you something strange. See, they would like to tell you, the Cherokees would like to tell you, you have to submit for a DNA test. But here's the truth. Truth is DNA tests are not recognized by the federal government, who cuts the checks. He said that doesn't work. See, because blood is not going to show you a freeman. And we want to make sure every single person who had signed as a citizen gets their stipend. See, because whether you are a Native American of descent, because you're a Moor, you understand what Moors are. How many of y'all understand what Moors are? Throw a like up if you understand what a Moor is. I've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of people in our truth-seeking community. And see, here's the deal with the Moors. See, the Moors were a group of Confederate people, meaning that they didn't necessarily represent a specific ethnicity. They represented a group, a conglomerate of people that were under the Islamic belief system and under the Islamic political structure. So they went about and they did all kind of commerce throughout the Middle East, throughout Africa, throughout Europe, for that matter. And one of their commerce choices was slavery. Yes, they just enslaved everyone. Yes, they enslaved white people too. Matter of fact, it was the white people being enslaved that caused stand up and say no more slavery and no more Muslim slave trade. So one thing you have to understand is that we have a lot of ethnic diversity. But when you didn't write your story, you don't get the right to say that. When you didn't write your story, your history started with slavery. When you didn't write your story, you were freed. You have a chance like everybody else. Pull yourself up from your own bootstraps, make it happen. That's what happens. But see, I know too many good-hearted people. See, like when you read a book like Up From Slavery from Booker T. Washington, you realize that when good-hearted people recognize a problem, they step up. Not a lot of them, just the ones who are truly good-hearted. See, after the Civil War, right around that Reconstruction time, there were a lot of black schools, a lot of schools for people who were unfairly enslaved. And one thing that we have to understand, and I'm going to talk about this, is what happened when America finally accepted its darker family. See, what we don't understand is what happened. How is it that you had a group of people who were, for the most part, completely uneducated? You had a group of people that when they were freed, they had no literacy, over 3%. They had the fastest literacy group in the recorded history. Because in 1960, there was over 60% literacy at the basic reading and math level. Never in the history of mankind had one group ascended so quickly. And it didn't just happen because of blacks. And we have to understand this as a country because it's gotten too divisive. See, I got to celebrate my heritage, but it doesn't mean attacking, destroying, or defaming another group. See, because we got to get past that. See, I can be happily me, angry at you, but I got to know my story. And I got to dig deep and know the truth, because we're truth seekers. See, I was talking to somebody earlier today about the difference between white poverty and black poverty. I was talking to somebody today because they didn't get it. They didn't understand. I said, you got to understand this. Black poverty. Can't even say it. It's making me so mad. Black poverty is not comparable to white poverty. Now, let me say it to you differently. Did you know that in some communities, black poverty is so confined that there's groups of almost 40% of the representatives of that area that are stuck in this confinement of poverty? They call that the double whammy of poverty, because you not only got to fight poverty, listen to me, you've got to fight having no allies that aren't impoverished. How do people move on? They connect, they network, they build, they grow. See, some of you don't get it. Some of you don't understand what it means when 40% of a particular ethnicity are coalesced into an area of poverty and despair. And throughout the country, it's at 30% on average. Chicago, it was 40% in 2000, and you and I both know things got a lot worse after 2000. See, but this is because we don't understand how. See, because if we understood how to come together, we would understand what makes people come together are things that benefit the group. Now, what are things that benefit the group? Public policy. Public policy. That's right. Public policy benefits the group. I am trying to get just some of my people to become more aware of public policy, because policy creates the need for politicians. But if you don't have a policy, why do you have a politician? What is it that politician can offer you? You don't even know what you need them to do. But when you come in as Johnny come lately and somebody tells you who to vote for, like us in this unfortunate issue with our representation, you never get anything. I mean, if you think about it, when we look back historically at the politics, we, those who believe in a political system that are of a minority status in this country, have to be able to believe in a particular set of agendas so that we can change our issues. And this is what, unfortunately, we don't get. But I am starting something. You guys will hear a little bit more about it. But tonight, for the first time, I will bust it out so you hear it. You guys, I am starting an organization. We'll do it on Facebook. We'll have a closed Facebook group. If you're interested, just inbox me. It's all good. We're going to have a closed Facebook group for a policy organization. All we do is sit down and talk about how to make our world right. I'm sick of hearing people always commenting on what's wrong, but they don't sit up, seek out, and stand up for a better solution. And we have to be that people. So I was thinking of something that was bold, something that was powerful. And I thought about Black power for a policy organization to make sure that our politicians and our laws are protecting and promoting the advancement of wealth, empowerment, reform. So I want you to understand what this is. Black power. Power is an acronym for policy organization for, now listen to this, wealth, empowerment reform. So what that basically means is that we have to learn to stand on our feet. We have to make sure that the policies that we have are in place to do that. Like I put some on Facebook earlier. One of y'all remember what I said. I said we need to support policies that actually put the training programs in the communities that had the highest level of poverty. Right? How wrong can that be? Sounds too much like common sense. But there's no policies in place like that. And when there's no policies in place, we're misrepresented. And people who seem to already have representation become overly represented. And we stay low and we stay hurting. And this has got to stop. You guys, I just wanted to talk to you about this because it's so important. It's so very important. But something else is really important. Here's where I'm going to go with it today. Do you know they did a report? They did a report on what is going on in America. But they tied that together. They tied that together with something that was really unique. Now watch this. This is what they tied it together with. They tied it together with the Russia investigation. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to really check out the New York Times article that describes and explains how Russia manipulated social media to create the culture and environment that we have today. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I believe that's 50%. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because what the article went on and said is that a lot of these Facebooks, Instagram, Messengers, Snapchats, a lot of these social media content is completely contrived. See, they've got American names. I'll give you a couple names. Here are a couple names that you'll like. Blacktivist, being patriotic, secured borders. See, those aren't true organizations of Americans. See, they're American organizations, so we think they're American YouTube channels, they're American Facebook channels, they're American Instagram channels. But the truth is they're not. See, actually, what they found out is that these were all created by the Russian government. They do it all the time just to create confusion and to manipulate political process. So to manipulate political process, what they did in a nutshell is they just heightened sensitivity. So I'll give you a couple things. Do you remember Pizzagate? How many of you remember Pizzagate? Well, they traced that back to one of those Russian sites. Now, am I saying that Pizzagate never happened? No. I'm just saying that it got traced back to one of those sites. I don't know what happened with Pizzagate. I wasn't there. Many of you who feel so strong weren't there either. So I can only tell you that I'm a truth seeker. If I can't find the truth, I'm not going to call it truth. Okay? But I'll give you another one. What about the one where they show blacks being harassed by a particular cop? I'm going to stop real quick. I saw something that was so sad. I saw something that was so dangerous. I saw something that was terrible. I was looking on Instagram, and Instagram acted as though they were doing a live video. It was a live video that we have come accustomed to seeing now, where a particular minority, African in this country, gets pulled over, and the cop asks them a question. Well, the driver, black guy, strong Southern accent, pulls out his gun and starts to question the officer and demands an ID and tells him don't touch his gun and don't talk on the radio or don't do anything. Now, it appears that this is actually going on, but it was staged. And see, what I'm realizing now is everybody's staging it. And as I study, I realize that America's been doing this in other countries, Russia, in the Middle East, all over. They've been doing the same thing forever. And now America is having it done to them. And this is crazy because so many of us don't understand how social media works. See here, when you start to find certain things that are of interest to you. Well, what happens is Facebook and other social media platforms start to navigate you, aggregate you towards the information you're into. So if you like watching cops attack blacks, you'll see more of it. And see, what you have to understand is that, yes, many of these are true, but the technique to stress you out, to anger you, to get you to rage, it's all completely contrived. The majority of it. And you got to understand, they not only found this out, but those websites are making millions. You know, some of these sites had 750,000 views regularly, 750,000 members. Can you imagine what YouTube checks are cutting to these Russian groups with fake American names? How'd they find this stuff out? Well, first off, how they found this out is they started seeing, you get guys like Jonathan Albright, you get all these different guys whose jobs it is to basically manage social media content. You know, things like, I'll give you one, CrowdTangle. So CrowdTangle, they do all these different sites. They study all these sites and they find out, well, some of these pictures are not genuine. We've seen them from other sources. So they start looking at these groups and they find out a source like, for instance, a lot of this is not geared towards liberals. A lot of it's geared towards conservatives. Like, for instance, there was a particular a fake ad out, a fake Facebook post out that showed a Muslim man getting entitlements because he had 12 wives living in Detroit. So he got to check for every wife. These are the kind of propaganda things that they're putting out there on a regular basis. But again, before you get up in arms, you have to understand something. We've been doing it forever. This is just coming around, and we're not as aware as the people that we've done it so long to. So all I'm saying to you is that if you are starting to get social media stress, there's a reason why. Start reading again. I strongly encourage it. I gave you 2 books that I thought were really nice. See, we call that cultural hijacking. See, because these people know, they know that emotion drives content. So they give you this super emotional thing. Like, for instance, they show you a U.S. veteran coming back from war with no amenities, no time, nothing. He's poor. And then walking past him is some form of an illegal immigrant with money in his pocket because he got a country check. You understand? This is propaganda that's specifically geared towards heightening your stress, your confusion, and your anger with this country. And for good reasons. For good reasons. And I need you to understand this, because at the end of the day, we are out here bad. Like I said, how many of you, give me a thumb up or a love, a heart, or anything, how many of you know about the Blacktivist Facebook page? Blacktivist Facebook page. It has so many Russian videos. And you know what's bad is that you get like Black Lives Matter and other really meaningful, caring organizations that find this content and then they repost it. And then we repost it and then we repost it and we repost it. And it ends up being bogus. Not all of it. Definitely not all of it. But enough of it to churn the wheel a little more. To get you just that much deeper into despair. And it's happening to us. Now, don't get me wrong. It's happened to all the conservatives, all of these super conservatives who consider themselves to be so intelligent, so on it, so well informed. You know, they're doing the same thing. I mean, I'm not trying to laugh because I think somehow that Mr. Swanson, the big super Trump supporter, goes on LinkedIn and just, oh my God, this dude just goes on and on and on about Trump and how liberals aren't this and and then 99% of what he's quoting is completely given to him by the Russians as bogus alternative fact content. Think about this, man. They're laughing at us. They're having fun looking at us believing what we see all the time on social media. You know, blacktivists, Russian. Black Lives Matter, not Russian, but carrying all of Russia's content to be truth seekers. Just because you saw it doesn't make it real. I mean, how many times you look up and see in your messenger something that's strange, like some little girl getting mutilated and killed? It's just things that are just like, oh my God, I can't take it. How can they do this? And then you're ready to snap. Wonder why. Maybe somebody purposely put that there to make you want to snap. Now, some of the things are very real. Like the young black girl who was raped by multiple guys on Facebook Live. That was real. But then there's things that are completely not real. And you guys got to understand that. Okay? So I need intelligence. Y'all got to give it to me. Because we get mad. We get real mad. But we're not the only ones that get mad. I want you to know that one of the most powerful extremist groups is a group of white nationalists who are anti-capitalist. They're anti-government. They're anti-everything. They're anti-establishment. And they're big. And they're growing. And it's all these different organizations of white nationalists. Because some of them are friends of people of a different ethnicity, and most of them are not. That's dangerous, but I want to let you know your government has your back. Your government believes that it has identified the #1 home terrorist, the #1 domestic terrorist in this country has been identified by your new FBI. I think you'd be rather shocked to find out that no, it's not those crazy folk who crashed down on Charleston. No, not the ones I was just talking about that are like threatening violence everywhere as a means across. No. In actuality, the FBI reported that the true domestic terrorists are blacks. Yeah, I'll tell you which ones. They call them, give me a shout out if you ever heard of this name. They call this particular group Black Identity Extremists. Black Identity Extremists. First off, I know all the groups, ain't heard of one of them called the BIMs, the BIEs. I have not heard of one. But guess what? According to white America, it's a real thing. According to white America, they mean to kill cops. Not they mean to stop letting cops kill them. They mean cop killers. See, and when these cop killing thugs get put on their back, that's when the terrorism starts. You imagine it? Well, that's what the mantra is right now. Well, that's what happens when you completely politicize an agency as important as the Federal Bureau of Investigation. See, they use, and you know they're going to use it. I mean, come on, you know they're going to use it. Micah Johnson. See, now everybody who's a Black Lives Matter Of course, I think Black lives matter, but I'm not a black, and I need to point this out, identity extremist. I'm not extreme in my belief that you should love yourself. I don't think there's anything extreme about that. I actually believe that at the end of the day, everyone should love themselves. And loving yourself shouldn't mean hating somebody else. I don't know where we seem to get that from, but love is not about hate. And we need to learn to love ourselves a lot more. Because, see, in a day like today, where the FBI says that because of certain, and look how they say it, because of certain politicizing of the enforcement of the legal system, it has become dangerous for law enforcement because groups are attacking the police. Can you imagine this? Every time you look up, there's a legal, real situation where an African who's supposed to have citizenship is gunned down. Now, some of them, in my personal opinion, walked a real cloudy step. Could have went either way. And because the officer feared for his life, got killed. But you know, I was sitting up with one of my guys, Shy Diddy. You should check him out on Instagram. And what I was looking at were all these videos of, these were real police cam videos of really, really aggressive non-blacks who the cops just said, you know, calm down. I'm gonna let somebody call somebody to get you. See, because they're still considered people. And there's a strong possibility, and I'm not trying to make it seem like all people in the police and law enforcement are bad, because I don't hardly believe that. But it's easier for you to be intimidated by a black person whom you don't know than by a white person whom you don't know, if you're the white police, I guess, because I don't usually hear them say they feared for their life. In actuality, I have watched on multiple occasions them turn their backs, and you don't do that when you're scared. So I'm only saying this to you so you understand, because yesterday I look up and I see Roger Goodell say we need to move past all of the protesting during the display of the national anthem, in the flag. Well, listen, you guys, I want you to please hear me on this, okay? When quiet protesters, and I know that we're kind of tired of this, I'm sorry, you guys, but I've got to explain this to the people who don't know. When a quiet protester who doesn't scream, doesn't shout, doesn't do anything, but just publicly assembles to stop traffic, can you believe, ladies and gentlemen, that it's actually not because they hate traffic or cars or people, or because they hate ambulances and fire trucks or police cars that are trying to protect people? No. But that's the kind of idiocy that they perpetuate when they say kneeling for recognition of inequality by police treatment in some ways implies a hatred for the flag, as if these idiots didn't understand how many blacks died for this country. It's sad. It's sad. You know, I was talking to a woman who I respected her naivety, because how do you know if you don't try to know? How do you know when your only in is what you see on the nightly news? You won't know. You can't know. I said to her, I said, you know, sweetie, sometimes people think that it's about the flag, but it's not. It's about raising awareness to the police treatment of us in our communities. And she said, well, I'm really mad about the flag. And I said to her, I said, you know, some people would take offense, would take serious offense that you care more about your flag than about your fellow citizen. Because if you truly cared about your flag, you would study and learn how many ways you actually disrespect your flag. This is the thing that blows my mind. I'm gonna try and calm down. On every single Trump marketing piece, there was a what? A flag, right? Make America Great Again. Do you realize that it explicitly states that you cannot do that? Now, when I say it, I mean the actual laws about what is disrespect to the flag says you can't wear it. You can't nail it down. Napkins. You can't have an Uncle Sam. You can't truthfully understand the hypocrisy of a guy dealing with an enemy of freedom in Putin. You don't understand the hypocrisy of a man who cares more about Confederate flags, cares more about Confederate statues than he does about the good in this country. But again, we're good people, right? You guys, every Tuesday, we talk about things. And anything that comes across my screen, I talk about. Because we are the truth seekers. And we go deep. And we go there. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. This is IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart channel. I got some more stuff to talk about, you guys. Because at the end of the day, we need some real help with this stuff. We need for people to understand the healing process won't happen in the Black community. You got to understand we're only 12%. See, our country will become a non-racist country when we eliminate the racist rules, structures, and policies that are here right now today. But we got to step up. Because, see, one doesn't understand the extent of white naivety. See, I know Black naivety. I see it every day because so many of my people have been pulled away from Gen Pop knowledge that I have to understand that it's naivety. They just didn't know. But white people, please understand, when you try and tell Black people what they can protest against, how to protest, and where to protest, you have been really awkward with your whiteness. You don't have authority. You don't have permission. You haven't even been invited to talk about how Africans with citizenship in this country must stand together, especially today where you now have this racist agenda by the FBI. You remember back in the 60s and your guy Hoover. Same thing now. The only difference is we know that it gets deadly when you move the conversation from race to economics. See, some of you are good at remembering what you were told. But when you are a truth seeker like us, you write it down and you go study it. Check the reference. Check the references. Reference. So many lies. I just talked about the Russia thing. But then you get something real again. You get something that is what I just consider to be awkward ignorance. Awkward ignorance is the Dove commercial. I want you to think about this Dove commercial. The real commercial was beautiful. Even the half commercial was nice. Some of you didn't see it, but it's all right. All you saw was a 3-second snippet. You saw the 3. It was just a GIF. And that GIF went viral because it had a young African sister turn white right in front of your eyes, and then turn into another white right in front of your eyes. And that offended a lot of people. I personally was blown away because I couldn't see who you were trying to impress. See, because all of the real white nationalists I know don't want any black person to be white on the inside. No. They don't believe the two have anything to do with each other. Now, there might have been some black people that I know who deeply feel with the right facial detergent, they might be more acceptable to white people. But you know, sadly, that's a real deep problem in our community. But you know, this sister, and I have a lot of respect for the sister, after Dove went on the national campaign a few years ago in 2011 and did something that was really, really same kind of deal where they were showing women from the lightest to the darkest, and it was like a before and after, which indicated how your skin dries out. And then, you know, they got called on that. How many of you guys remember that? Well, they did it again. But you know, this one sister named Blake, and I really respected this sister. She actually went on Dove's Facebook site and called them out. Then what are you doing? How can you be this slow? Of course, they come right out and say, we dropped the ball. We messed up. Because you know what? They're smart enough to know all you got to do is jump on it, say you did it, make the mistake, and your money will never change. People make mistakes. And you know, I have to talk to you guys about the woman who actually was the model. She was a Nigerian woman born in London. She lives in Atlanta now. And her name is Lola. For you who know how awesome I am in my Nigerian, I'll say her last name was Ogunyemi. All right. Now, this sister was so excited to find out that she was one selected to be in the Dove commercial. She was so happy. But you know what, you guys? Even though they mischaracterized the woman she is by implying in that 3-second video she hoped to be something else, she wanted to make sure Dove knew that she was still open to being their model. So this is what we get, you guys. We get stuff that don't make sense. We get stuff that shocks the true brain. Like, for instance, in California, because of the opiate issue, everything is now what it should have been from the start, which is a sickness. But it wasn't a sickness when the opiates were predominantly heroin addicts in the black community. No, that's called a war against drugs, war against crime, mass incarceration, still happening right now. But we both know why it's no longer looked at like that. Now, this is a healing issue. Speaking of healing issues, we might as well go all the way across the board. So Jerry Brown, and just so you know, that's the California governor. He just signed into law that knowingly infecting somebody with HIV, it's no longer a felony. Not in California. Nope. Misdemeanor. I'll give you AIDS. My bus. Worst case scenarios. Have to do a year. Why? Because the liberal perspective is everything is a sickness. I didn't say anything was wrong with that. What I'm saying is it's quite ironic that now that the sickness is over on your side, everybody's sick and need healing. When it was on our side, incarceration. See, because please, true seekers, listen. I just showed you how a high-level investigation, just proved that Black people in America have been tricked, and the anger and fear has been exacerbated. See, all coalesced between what's really happening and more and more and more of what happened, but didn't happen just recently, but is all put together. Now we're fearful. Every time we see the police, we think we're about to die. And we were being coerced into thinking this way by the Russians. But see, when the white people were coerced into thinking that way, referring to who? Referring to the right wing. When they were tricked into believing that things were happening that weren't, and all you have to do is go pull up the report so you see what I'm talking about. When they were tricked and they got mad and they got violent, Trump said, hey, I'm here for you. But see, when the blacks got mad and they got scared because they actually are getting killed, what'd they get? What'd they get? I just told you. They got to be number one on the domestic terrorist list. You tell me something. I mean, talk to me. How do you go from admitting that this was trickery and deception to saying, oh yeah, most wanted, we're coming down even harder now? Just when you think it's crazy. You guys, the show's gone just like that. I love y'all, but I got to go. Until next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, IntellectualRadio.com. Listen, get involved, get in tune. Check me out. IntellectualRadio.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're here for you. Remember, comment, like, share, and get involved. We are the Truth Seekers. I'm your host, Tone Duncan. Until next Tuesday, peace.